All right, guys. This week I'd like to pick up where we left off last week with the line and shape project. Now you can see I've got three down and three to go. And what I'm going to do this week, I think, is go over congestion and tension and show you how to use some new tools that you might not be aware of yet. Now, before I get really into this, the first thing I'm going to do, I think, is probably grab these top three up here, and I am going to lock those so I don't click on those by mistake. And I think I'll do the same thing with some of my other stuff here. There it is. Okay, hang on. It was got a little lag time here in my computer for some reason. So let's lock those as well. Lock selection. I'm leaving these clickable so I can change the fill color on them if I want to. All right. So if you want to lock those, you can. If you don't want to click on them by mistake and mess anything up, or if you want to, just use them as the actual box that has the fill in it, that'll work fine too. All right. Now let's start with congestion. All right. Now I am going to go ahead and lock these two while I'm at it, just so I don't click on the wrong thing. All right. So congestion. I think I have an idea for this. It might be a little bit different. So that's going to require using the Shape Builder tool. Now, as we continue on here, notice that I have it set on Essentials. That's the default that this program goes to. Okay. The reason I reset it on Essentials is because I wanted to show you again how easy it is to pick something better. In this case, I'm going to pick Painting. And there we have more palettes. We got our swatches, we've got our color picker, we've got our stroke palette, we've got our layers, and looks like we have just about all of our tools here. Yep, advanced tools. Okay, and that's what we want. That'll make it a lot easier. Okay, I'm going to make that longer again. Okay, so congestion. What to do with this thing. First off, let's go ahead and make this make the fill a color. So make sure that fill is in the foreground and strokes in the background. And let's make it kind of a sickly green. That's a little too bright. Let's go more like that. Okay, that'll work. All right, and then let's go ahead and lock that. Now we have the color set. We're going to lock that selection. Now let's create a shape. Okay, I'm going to do something that you might not think of as being congestion, but it occurred to me the other day, and I think it might be a little more fun than some of the other things that we've tried. So first off, I'm going to go ahead and I'm going to click on my rectangle tool. I'm going to change the fill color to something a little different. Let's go with a deep red. Okay. Now I'm going to start with the rectangle tool. I'm just going to make a rectangle about so big. And then I think I'm going to make another rectangle right underneath it. Okay, you're probably saying, oh, what is this going to be? Well, you'll find out. Okay. So I'm going to hold down my, there we go. Select one, hold on my shift key, select the other. And yeah, I'll just leave it like that. I think what I'm going to do right off the bat is I'm going to combine these. I'm going to combine these right from the get-go, okay, and make a shape. So I might as well introduce the Shape Builder tool, okay? The Shape Builder tool is right here. It's this thing right here. So go ahead and click on that. And the things that you have selected, okay, when you scroll over them, this weird little like screen shows up over top. Now, notice how there's one section, There's another section where they overlap, and then there's a third section. Okay, that can create some problems sometimes if you are creating an object and you miss a section. Okay, matter of fact, I just sort of did that. So basically, all you have to do is just draw a line through it with your cursor from one section to the other, and it combines them like so. Okay, pretty simple, pretty straightforward. Now, that's just a shape right now. It's not much of anything. So let's go ahead and start making it into something. I am going to grab my ellipse tool. Now it's still on the same setting as before with a dark red fill and a black stroke. And I'm going to make just kind of a shape. Set that in there, right about there. The actual shape that it is doesn't really matter right now because I'm going to actually do something more with it. I'm going to tilt this a little bit, about like that. And then I'm going to do the same sort of thing again. Okay, that's looking about right. Maybe one more smaller one up here. Something like that. I'll probably erase away the extra. Okay, now I'm going to grab the one section that I created first, and grab the next one after that, the next one after that, and grab everything that I've created so far, go back to my shape builder tool, and draw a line through every section that's there, every part that's overlapping and everything. So we've got this kind of a shape here. Okay, now this is a shape that I can actually do something with. It has enough anchor points that I can kind of move stuff around and do what I want. Okay, so let's zoom in and let's grab this one right here. We're going to move that right down, and we're going to take this handlebar right here. We're going to lay it absolutely flat so it doesn't really do anything. We're going to grab this one here. We're going to move it down like that. And this, we're going to move up. This one, I'm going to kind of even these out a little bit here. Something like that. Okay. Zoom out a little bit. Bring this forward a little bit more. Actually, I'm going to bring this, whoops, out a little bit. It's going to let me. There we go. There, I want a little bit of a lump there. Create something of a brow. Because you can see what I'm doing. I'm creating a profile. Okay. I was thinking about old advertisements for nasal medicine and that kind of thing. I thought, oh, okay, that's congestion right there. So now what I'm doing is I'm just using my tools here to kind of create something of a profile. Move down just a little bit. And this, if this is the first time you've used, or one of the first times you've used Illustrator and you're not really familiar with a lot of the tools, that's okay. I'm going to go ahead and start adding some extra anchor points in here so I can add more detail. Okay, so I just added a couple more there. All right. And maybe another one, maybe two right here and here. Actually, let's make that 3. There we go. All right. So now I take my direct select tool and grab this anchor point. I'm going to move this out. I'm going to grab the next anchor point. I'm going to move this out as well. I'm going to pull that in a little bit. That's a little too much. There we go. Something like that. And then this, a little bit of an Adam's apple there. And then I've got another anchor point that I don't need right here, so I'm just going to get rid of that one. Okay. All right, so we've got our shape here of a profile, and now we just need to actually create congestion, or what represents congestion. All right, so this guy, I'm going to go ahead and lock him. Now, you may have noticed sort of a pattern with me. I tend to lock things as I go. That's just so I don't mess things up later on. Okay, now congestion. So let's go ahead and grab our ellipse tool here, or that's you've got all of your shapes here. Got an ellipse tool here, and let's go with a fill that's well. Let's make it feel kind of unpleasant. So let's go with this this reddish gradient thing here. Okay, so I'm going to make a something like that. Okay. Actually, you know, let's leave the gradient off for right now. We'll add a gradient to it later. So, because I don't know if I like that orange thing. I don't know if that really worked or not. All right, and now that that's selected in there, let's go ahead and add another shape. We're going to use the polygon tool, okay, and we're going to click once, and we're going to take the number of sides down to 3 in order to create a triangle. And then we're going to use our direct select tool to move things around a little bit. Okay, now that's a little bit wide right there. That'll kind of work. I think what I'm going to do, though, one thing I'm going to do is I don't like the straight line on this, so I'm going to change that. I'm going to make sure I have this anchor clicked on, and I am going to go up to the top here. This is our convert, where we can convert selected anchor points. Right now, it's a straight line, but if I click on this, it'll make a rounded sort of thing, and that way I can actually kind of make it a little bit more animated. Actually, I'm going to do the same thing with this one as well, and this one. Convert those. That way, I can use these handlebars that only show up when you have an arced line. I can use those to create a nice sort of rounded shape. Let's make that go up a little further like that. There we go. That'll work as a shape. So I'm going to click on my select tool. So we're no longer changing anything. And I'm going to hold on my shift key. I'm going to click on the other one as well, the other shape. And now I'm going to go back to my shape builder tool and combine those. So now it's a compound shape. And at this point, I want to put in my gradient. Now, that gradient works all right, but I think I could do a little bit more with it. I don't like it's completely vertical right now, so I want to edit my gradient a little bit. So, as you see, when I clicked on my gradient, the gradient palette sprung open, and I clicked on Edit Gradient, and that allows me to basically do whatever I want to with this gradient. I can move the red in further, make it bigger, make it smaller. I can actually arc it, which is what I want it to do. I have this pointing down in the direction of the opening and getting redder up here. Okay, I can also change the amount of the gradient, so I can have it be almost like a solid line, or I can make it really gradual. Okay, so I think that is probably what I'm going to go with, something like that. Okay, granted, it's a little bit of a different kind of thing. Okay, Um, but you know, when you have a head cold and your head's plugged, you know, you have this like this red sort of achy feeling, you know, inside of you. So I think that'll work. That works as something a little bit more unique, and what's more, it was good use of the shape builder tool. Okay, so let's go ahead and grab this, and let's go ahead and lock that in place as well. So everything should be pretty well locked here. All right, right. All right, let's pick up where we left off there. Sorry, I had to pause it for a second because of some technical issues that happen sometimes. Okay, tension. All right, now with this one, let's go ahead and put that away. And I'm gonna, before I do anything more, I'm gonna put it back in my default settings. Okay. All right. Now let's take our rectangle tool and make another rectangle. Okay. Um, the one that was that's underneath here, okay, is locked. I could unlock it, but then I'd have to unlock all, and I don't want to do that. So I'm just creating a new one that'll work just fine. Okay. I think right now I'm going to go ahead and assign a fill to it. Okay, and I think that fill, I think what I'm going to do is I'm going to go with a kind of a brighter red. We had a dark red here, but I want a bright red in this one. So I'm going to go ahead and just click on that. That'll work. Okay. Because what I want to do is I want to create when I think of tension, you know, in my previous one, I had done a small object that was nearly being crushed by another object. And I think this time, though, I want to create a shape that's almost bent to the point of breaking. Okay. So, so let's do that. Okay. Now, before I go any further, I've unclicked my box here. Now I'm going to go back to the default stroke and fill, and I'm going to create a shape here, but I'm going to change it with a couple of tools that you might not have come across yet. Okay. So let's go ahead and we'll just make a shape. We'll just grab our rectangle tool and make a rectangle. Let's go ahead and make this a kind of a slate blue. And I think I'll leave the stroke on for now. Okay. Nah. Yeah. Anyway, I can always take the stroke off if I want to later on. Okay. Now, the next thing I'm going to do is I'm gonna warp this object. Now, there's a couple of different ways you can do that. Okay. Now, if you go up to Object and you scroll down this menu, you come to Envelope Distort. Okay. Now, the first one that you can select is Make with Warp. And when you click on that, this is what happens. This is what shows up. Okay. This dialog box shows up. Okay. And it's set on Arc. That's the default. Let's see. The default is actually 0, 0 here. That was left from what I had it earlier. This is what the default would be. A 50% bend, a 0 horizontal, 0 vertical. But as you see, if you move these back and forth, you get some kind of cool stuff. Okay. That's the first one. Find 0 here. I'll just punch in 0. That's the way to do it. Okay. And then, so if you scroll through here, there's arc lower, arc upper, arch, bulge, shell lower, shell upper, flag, wave. Now, if you just have a solid color, it doesn't really look like much of anything. Fish, rise, fish eye. Again, if it's just a solid color, it doesn't look like anything. Inflate, squeeze, and finally twist. And again, twist is one of those where if it's just a solid fill, it doesn't look like anything. Okay. Okay, I'm going to go ahead and cancel that. All right. The next way to warp stuff is in the same spot, envelope distort. You can say make with mesh. Now, when you click on make with mesh, this dialog box opens up. It says, okay, rows 4, columns 4. Well, what does that mean? Click on preview, and you can see you got 4 rows and 4 columns. And if you click OK, then you can use your direct select tool to click on these individual anchor points and move them wherever you want. Okay, you can even sort of invert them and whatever you want to do. So you can really make some pretty warped stuff using these tools. Now, before I go any further, I'm going to go ahead and undo all this. I'm just clicking on Control Z. That's a quick and easy way to do it. Okay. All right. So we're back to this. All right. Now, the final way that I want to show you how to warp something is by using the mesh tool. Okay, it's right underneath the perspective grid in your toolbox. So just click on that. Okay, your cursor changes. Okay, it's got a little version of your direct select tool, a little grid, and a little plus sign. Now, if you click anywhere in your box, see what happened? This anchor point shows up. Okay, and there's also anchor points on the sides and in the middle. Okay, so this is probably the easiest way to warp something. As a matter of fact, you can take your tool and just kind of move it along wherever you want. Okay, so that's what I'm going to do here. I want to have this this look like it's being stretched to the breaking point. Let's see how I can best do that. I think I'll this right here is a little higher here. Set it right about there. I take this and just make that go way up there. Do the same thing with this. I'm going to take my handle, move that down a little bit. And then do the same thing with this. Let's move that down just a touch. There we go. Kind of experimenting here, seeing how far I can go. Now, if I wanted to, I could also take my handles here and move those. It'll create a completely different kind of a feel right there. Okay, I think that might work. Something like that. I kind of like that. It's sort of abstract, but I like it. Okay, and now that's all set. Now I think what I'll do is I'll take my fill right here, and what I'm going to do though is I'm going to assign a gradient to it. Now the default, that's what we had before, is the linear gradient. Okay, that's what we used right here, and it's still pretty much where it was set before. But with this though, this time though, I'm gonna use a instead of a linear, I'm gonna use a radial. Okay, I don't like the placement of that though. It doesn't really work with what I'm trying to do with this. So I'm gonna have to edit that. Now before I do that though, I think I'm gonna change it a little bit. I don't know that I need that extra yellow there. Okay, so I'm going to move this out this way, and I think this red here is a little gratuitous as well. So I just have 3 colors there. Oh, I just added one by mistake by clicking on it. There, just got rid of it. Okay, And now I'm going to edit this gradient as well, just like I did that last one there. Okay, so I'm going to click on Edit Gradient. And first off, I want to move my gradient. It's giving me a little bit of a headache. Need to, there it is. Computer's giving me a little bit of a fit here. I'm going to move that straight up like that, and that'll allow me to move, whoops. Going to move things a little bit. There we go. Right about to there. Let's move this right about, right in there. Yeah, these things kind of bounce around now. If you're not used to it, you got to kind of get used to it, the way they sort of work. There, I wanted to get that dot right in the center there. Okay, now let's go ahead and click off that. So now there's red, there's red fading this kind of yellow right at the stress point. And that's what I was trying to say with a tension thing. Actually, I could go one further and maybe move this yellow in a little bit, and then add a new color. It's by there. There we go. And then let's just make that white. Okay, so yeah, so there's a gradient there, right dead center, that right at the stress point. That's what we want. Okay, all right, cool, that'll work. Now, last thing to do, of course, let's grab all that stuff and let's go ahead and lock that. Okay, and then hit save. Okay, all right, that's probably enough for today. There's only one left. Remember, this project is due at the end of next week. Okay, so you've got that to work through. In other words, the way it works in this class, there's an upload, okay, for your project, right? And what you need to do is upload that by Friday of next week at, I think it's 11:55 p.m. Okay, so make sure you get it uploaded by then. I would prefer that you uploaded a PDF rather than an Adobe Illustrator file, because that way people can look at your work on Moodle without having to download it. Okay, so that would probably work best. Oh, one other note. This week, you are being assigned a term paper. Okay, so with this term paper, you want to read over the history of graphic design slideshow and the chapter in the book which sort of coincides with it, and start thinking about what it is that you want to write about, which time period of graphic design interests you the most, and what recent bit of advertising art can you find that you think harkens back to that particular era. If you didn't catch all that, me just saying it, that's okay. It's all written down on the spec sheet on the class Moodle page. Okay, I will talk to you guys later. Bye.